Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and this is the all open forum discussion show. You know, every day on the John Campea show, we take a little bit of time for some live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do is nothing but live questions. So without any further ado, guys, let's dive right into the live questions today. And the first one comes to us from Jay Bling, who writes, "Not sure if you've talked about this yet. Can you confirm the embargo date for Deadpool 2 and whether it's concerning? I've read conflicting reports." Okay, well, let me settle it for you. The embargo date, the movie opens on the 18th. The embargo date is the evening of the 14th. So I've always said 2 to 3 days in advance, perfectly fine. That's normal. 4 days in advance, even better. I mean, it's not like 2 weeks early, but no, that's when it concerns me is when it's the day before or the day of. We've seen it be day of. And then you get movies like Will Ferrell's comedy, The House, that he did with Amy Poehler, where there were no reviews because they didn't even screen it for the press at all. That's how much they had no faith in that movie. Rightfully so, because that movie was horrible. And I love Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. That movie should have been great. Anyway, it was terrible. So yes, the embargo date is, I believe, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 11 p.m. East Coast time on the 14th, which I believe is a Monday. Yeah, Monday the 14th is when the embargo lifts. Now, I see Deadpool that morning. So I'm going to do open mic on next Monday morning. So a week from today, I'm going to do open mic. I'll probably shorten it a bit. Like it'll probably be, instead of an hour, it'll probably be about 40 minutes long. So I got to hightail it out of here to get to that Deadpool screening. Go see Deadpool, and then I'll have my review up later that night. And that many days out, no, that's standard. There's nothing concerning about that. That's fine. Again, when I get concerned, it's when it's the day of or the day before. As long as you do more than that, that means there's a chance for the word to get out about how good or not so good the movie is, and then we'll see. Look, I think the movie looks great. I'm very excited about it. Can't wait to see it. So once again, it's not concerning, and the embargo date lifts on the 14th. That's when the reviews come out, in the evening. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. And let's move on now to Let's Watch, who writes, "On a podcast, Mark Hamill said that Luke is dead and absolutely not coming back alive, or is even going to be in episode 9. The one I saw, he said, I'm not convinced I'm dead. The podcast that he was on this week that I heard, he flat out, word for word said, I'm not convinced I'm dead. So, I mean, that's all I can say about that. But then again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he said, I'm not convinced I'm dead. It doesn't matter if Mark Hamill says, I'm absolutely not coming back. You can't believe any of it, one way or the other. So I wouldn't read anything into that at all. Let's Watch writes, "Also, have you seen Cobra Kai yet? Don't ignore us, John. We'll get you to see it." Nope, still haven't. I haven't had any time. Like, I've just had no time to sit down and watch Cobra Kai. Last night, Ann and I had a spare hour. And we said, okay, do we watch the next episode of Legion or do we try watching Cobra Kai? And we both said, let's watch Legion. So we ended up watching Legion. Not a great episode that I watched last night. But anyway, so no, still haven't seen it. I am planning on watching it. I just don't know when I'm going to have the time. But I will watch it because I've had enough of you guys tell me that it's good. And I thought, well, so many people in the community are telling me it's good. I'll give it a shot. Again, I haven't had a chance yet. Okay, let's see what's next. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, "John, did you see the video that Ben Affleck posted on Instagram where paparazzi were outside of his church waiting for him and his kids?" Yeah. Now, look, I think the paparazzi sometimes take a little more blame and a little more crap than they should. I mean, it's their job to get, photos and stories and things. I get it. But there has to be a line. And this is why the paparazzi get such a crappy name sometimes, is because they constantly cross a line. Like, yes, Ben Affleck is a celebrity. Yes. And if you're going to reap the benefits of being a celebrity, there's a downside to being a celebrity, which means you're publicly recognizable. People want to get your photograph. People want to know what's going on with you, blah, 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 blah. It's a downside, yes, but it's part of the package. You accept that. However, it really was nauseating seeing that video. For those of you who don't know, and Ben Affleck wrote on his Instagram, he goes, "I don't know what's so newsworthy about a middle-aged man showing up to church with his kids." But he shot this video of him pulling up to his church, and there's this lineup of paparazzi there to snap pictures. Like, really? like a dude trying to do something just remotely normal with his kids. As far as I'm concerned, like, I don't care what's going on. When a person, an actor or actress, whatever, is with their kids, that's no bueno. That's no. You don't do that. And I thought it was revolting. I really did. I thought it was absolutely revolting, stalking a dude outside of his church when he's taking his kids. I mean, come on. Seriously? Like, those people deserve to be punched in the face. I mean, it's just, that's, I'm not encouraging anybody to go out and find paparazzi and punch them in the face. I'm just saying, theoretically speaking, those people deserve to be punched in the face. I mean, it was disgusting. It was vile to see. All right. Let's see. Let's Watch writes, have you heard the announcement from Lucasfilm of the new Star Wars animated series? It's called Star Wars Resistance, and it takes place before The Force Awakens. Well, we've talked about it on my show several times. So, yeah, I've heard about it. For those of you who aren't up to date, so we've known for a while that they were working on a new animated series. The new animated series is called Resistance, and it takes place before the events of Star Wars The Force Awakens. And it will include BB-8, because BB-8's on the promo art for it, but it's also going to have Poe Dameron in it, and it's also going to have, why am I forgetting Gwendolyn Christie's character's name? Captain Phasma. It's going to have Captain Phasma, and apparently the actors themselves, like Gwendolyn Christie and, why am I drawing a blank on the guy who plays Poe Dameron's name? Anyway, they're actually going to voice their characters in it as well. Now, that's not such a big deal because all you have to do is book them each for a day and they can come in and do all their lines for an entire season. So that's not such a big deal, but still, it's interesting to see. So you're going to get Poe, you're going to get Captain Phasma, you're going to get BB-8. There's probably going to be appearances and cameos from other characters as well. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting time period, but we know where everything goes. And again, to me, it feels a little bit like shrinking the Star Wars universe instead of expanding it. But hey, it could turn out being really good. Look, overall, I like Rebels. And some seasons I really like Rebels, and some seasons not so much. But if they can pull off at least that level quality, then it's totally going to be worth it. We're just going to have to wait and see how that turns out. All right. Rodrigo Ortiz writes, I recently saw Mr. Woodcock, and I have to admit that Sean William Scott is quite an actor in my opinion. That and Goon really showed his acting ability. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even sure which movie we're talking about. Let's see. Okay, so Mr. Woodcock, a 2007, so an 11-year-old film. I have no recollection. Oh, that one. I totally forgot that the name of that one was in there. Amy Poehler was in that one too, which I totally forgot about that. I saw it once. Totally whiffed on remembering the title of it. If I recall, I don't think I even liked the film that much. I mean, Sean William Scott in Goon, to me, that's going to be the highlight reel of his career. Seriously, the job he did in Goon. You know what? I never saw the second one. I never saw the second one yet. But what he did in Goon showed, okay, like maybe he didn't used to be able to act, but he's been in this business long enough. Now he knows how to act, and he did quite a good job in that. I wasn't as big as you on his performance in Mr. Goon. But then again, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure I only saw it the once. But I just remember not really liking the film all that much, and I don't think I remember being all that big on him. But maybe I'm just mixing something up, and maybe he's brilliant in it. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, man. All right, next one comes to us from Donaldo Martinez, who writes, when will we see your God of War review? Today. It goes up today before the John Campea show goes up. So that review will go up today. Orange Hand writes, ever watch classic cartoon shorts, duck season? Not really. I mean, I used to all the time when I used to watch cartoons because then they would show the classic shorts, but I don't go out of my way right now anymore to watch the old classic shorts. I'm sure I saw probably most of the old classic shorts growing up watching that kind of stuff. But I have to admit, no, not today. It's not that I have any problem with them. I just don't go out of my way to watch them again. Ben Rayner writes, do you think a series finals, what do you think of series finals that end on a cliffhanger? Like of series finales? Like not just a season finale, but a series finale? Not a good idea. I don't think a series, I mean, look, your series finale is your series finale. What's the point in ending on a cliffhanger? I can't think of any series finales that ended on cliffhangers. Well, no, I take that back. The one series I can think of that ended on a cliffhanger was Angel with David Boreanaz. That ended on a cliffhanger, but that was partially because they found out midway through shooting their final season that it was going to be their final season. And that changed. I mean, so that's why the last few episodes of Angel, and I'm one of these few guys that I preferred Angel over Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I liked Angel more. Anyway, yeah, if I remember correctly, they were already shooting their season, not knowing that it was going to be their last season. And then when they only had a few more episodes to shoot, they found out this is your final season. So they were like, and then they had to wrap everything up, and it ended on a cliffhanger. It ended with Angel going, I want to kill the dragon, and they're going into battle. And that's where the series ends. Not good, but I don't really blame them because they found out really late that the series was ending. I can't really think of any other TV series that the finales end on a cliffhanger. I can't remember any of them. It doesn't seem like a good idea, but I can't think of many that do that. The Incredible Hulk writes, Hey, John, thoughts on Luke Cage Season 2 trailer? Not super impressed. It was a trailer, and it looks okay. Hey, look, it's Luke Cage, so I'm going to be watching it. Like, I'm already all in. I'm already invested in it. I'm going to be watching it no matter what. I will say that the promo spots they've put out for it so far have not made me any more excited for them. They're not bad, but they haven't increased my anticipation level. And my anticipation level is already pretty high because, like I said, I'm already all in on Luke Cage and most of the Netflix stuff. Maybe won't check out Iron Fist Season 2 if they ever do it. But besides that, I'm already involved. I'm already in. And no, the trailer didn't do me any, didn't get me any more excited. Didn't take away any excitement, but it didn't add any more excitement for me either. Okay, let's move on here. Alexander Helmer writes, did you like the recent Gotham? Jeremiah was awesome. The whole Jeremiah thing seems cheap. I'm not really on board, although I will say this. I do like the disposition of Jeremiah a little bit more than Jerome. There's more of a calm, calculating genius mixed in with the madness with Jeremiah, which makes him miles more watchable than Jerome was on the series. I know there are a lot of people who like Jerome. I just thought Jerome was, no pun intended, I just thought Jerome was a clown. I mean, I just honestly, I was really not it. There were a couple of episodes early on in Jerome's run that I thought, oh, that's interesting. But for the most part, and the whole, oh, it's a twin brother, and now he made him, it's kind of cheap. And again, desperately trying to tie the show in with Batman as much as possible. And to me, that's not when the show works. To me, Gotham works when it's about Jim Gordon and Gotham, trying to clean up this dirty, corrupted city. And it's cool that you have Penguin in there, and it's cool they have a couple of other names, but the more and more they just, it seems like they have the entire Batman Rogues gallery in this show now, and it's like, it's not Gotham. But anyway, that's kind of how I feel about it. All right, Let's Watch writes, what are your thoughts of the My Little Pony movie? Did you like it? I loved it, but I'm sure that's only because I'm a fan of the show. Is that weird being a fan of what is considered a little girl show? Look, there's an entire movement of men who enjoy My Little Pony. I'm not one of them. That's fine. But there's a whole movement of them, and there's so many of them, there's even a nickname for them called bronies. Men who are fans of My Little Pony are referred to as bronies. And there's even a documentary. And the guy who played Q in Star Trek Next Generation, the actor's name is John Delancey. And I had him in my office one time, and he had just finished doing it. And so I'm asking, so what have you been up to lately? And he goes, honest to God, I just finished doing the narration for a documentary on men who are into My Little Ponies, and it's called Bronies. And I remember that's the first I'd ever heard of that. But, I mean, I have learned more and more. There are more and more men who actually like My Little Pony. So as weird as it does sound on the surface, you are absolutely not alone. There are a bunch of dudes who like My Little Pony. Again, I'm not one of them, and I've never seen the My Little Pony movie. That I'm clearly not the audience for it. But hey, just because I don't like it doesn't mean other people can't like it, and there are a lot of dudes who like it. So there you go. All right, let's move on here. Oh, big jump. Okay, here we go. Am I in the right place? Yes. Night of the Hills 34 writes, I rewatched Logan for the first time since wide theatrical release. Man, what a masterpiece. The codependency between Logan and Laura is amazing. You know, I simply ran out of words when talking to people about Logan. I simply ran out of words on how many ways can you praise this movie. It is remarkable. You know, I'm not going to get into what's number one, what's number two, but Logan is in the top 3 greatest comic book movies of all time. It absolutely should have been nominated for Best Picture last year. In my opinion, it was the best movie of the year. Logan was the best movie of 2017. It should have been nominated for Best Picture. Now, it did get nominated for one of the highest awards they have, which is Best Screenplay, which is huge. First time ever that a comic book movie is nominated for Best Screenplay, which is great. So it's progress. But, I mean, the beautiful thing about the movie is it is definitely in the package of a comic book movie, but it is so much deeper than just a comic book movie. It is such a character story. And it's got joy and pain and anger and regret and moments of softness and tenderness, yet edginess and violence. And it's just so much packed into it. Now, I'm not going to get full blown into a whole Logan Revisit review here, but my God, it's so good. I mean, you get me started on talking about Logan. It was such a surprise, such a revelation. Especially when you consider that, hey, previous standalone Logan films didn't do all so hot. And then they come out with Logan, and oh my God, they just blew the doors off. Just blew the doors off. And like, I'm one of these guys who've been, hey, you know what, Hugh Jackman, you have given us Wolverine for, 15 years now? I've lost count. You want to retire the claws, good on you. Like, thank you from a grateful fan community for all you've done bringing us Wolverine. You want to step away from him now? That's awesome. Thank you so much. But then after seeing Logan, I'm like, Hugh Jackman, please come back. Please do more. But maybe that was the best way for it to go up. But yeah, absolutely. It's just like, I could talk about Logan all day. Good grief. Okay. It's Mo writes, Laredo is in Texas, John. Oh, I don't know. Like I think this came up on one of the shows the other day. Somebody said hi from Laredo, and I said, is that in California? Listen, I'm Canadian. I'm not American. I don't know where all your little cities are. But thank you for letting me know that it is in Texas. My favorite place in Texas, by the way, is still Austin. Man, I love that town. I've only been a couple of times, but I really like that city a lot. That and San Diego have a very, like, there's just something so chill about being there. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know how to phrase it, but thank you for the geography report. Santos Anujar writes, Doug thinks Chewie movie would work. Your thoughts? Well, no, a Chewie movie wouldn't work. And I know about 4 YouTubers named Doug, so I'm not really even sure who we're talking about. Luna Comics writes, still wondering why everyone includes aliens in the MCU speaks English. Well, that's the same thing for every sci-fi movie ever. It's just a lot easier. It's just easier. It's a filmmaking trope that this is not an MCU thing. This is every film, sci-fi, whatever. I mean, you'll get a couple that don't, and that's fine. But the vast majority of all sci-fi films, action films, whatever, stuff like that, when you get aliens coming down, at some point, English is spoken. So let's not pretend this is an MCU thing. I mean, the DCEU just did that thing too. Like Steppenwolf shows up and, oh, look, he speaks English. Fabulous. I mean, it's just a trope because it's much easier. It's an easier way to do it. It's easier for the filmmakers. It's easier for the film audience. It's just an easier thing. Is it a weird thing? Yes. Should we do it that way? No. But it's the same thing about how come when they're showing, the Russian government officials in Russia having a meeting, they're speaking English? Well, it's the same thing. It's just easier for the filmmakers and it's easier for the audience. So I wouldn't read too much into that, Luna, to be honest with you, because it's been going on since the beginning of time in the world of film. Let's see. Jordan Miller writes, morning, John. Good morning, Jordan. Seeing Infinity War for a 5th time today. I'm still stuck on 3. I saw 3 bang, bang, bang right out of the gate, and I have not had an opportunity to run out and see it again. So I've got to rectify that this week. Anyway, seeing Infinity War for a 5th time today, but it's my birthday. Happy birthday, Jordan. So for the first time in IMAX, as they used to say on Parks and Rec, treat yourself. I deal with depression a lot, and I can tell you how much, and I can't tell you how much your shows helped me through the week. Well, and that's a great thing about community. That's a great thing about movies, man. I'm really glad that if you struggle with that sort of stuff, that you've got a community to come to and just sharing something that brings you joy. And that's awesome, man, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it, and enjoy your 5th screening of Infinity War and your 1st in IMAX. Let's see. Donaldo Martinez writes, did Anne enjoy watching Aliens last week? We didn't. We were supposed to watch it this one particular night. She ended up getting home a little bit later. We forgot there was something we needed to do, so we had to run out and run a couple errands, and then we got home, and it was like 9 o'clock. And look, I actually crawl into bed around 10:30 because I got to be up at 5. And it always takes me a half hour to an hour to fall asleep. So I crawl into bed around 10:30. I'm not getting to sleep till like 11:30. And I got to be up at 5 every morning. So by the time we got back home after running the errands, it's like, we don't have time. We don't have time to watch. So we're going to try to do it this week. This week we will try to get her to watch Aliens because I'm super excited about watching it with her. And I'm actually super excited just about watching it. I haven't watched it in a few years. So I'm just kind of dying myself to sit down and watch it again. All right. Jordan Miller follows up. Just wanted to say thank you for doing what you do and making this community one of the best places to talk about movies. Keep bringing that filthy. Well, thanks so much, Jordan. And, you know, it is really the community that I love having, but it's the community that the community has built just as much as me. So, I mean, thank everybody in the chat boards and in the comment sections of the videos. Like, it's really the community here that have made it such a positive place to be a film fan. And yeah, we have the odd troll. That happens everywhere, but I'm just so impressed and I'm just so grateful to have the community here that we have. And we love adding new people to it all the time. So thank you for that, Jordan. I appreciate that. All right. Devontae Brown writes, okay, I got to skip that question, man, because your question gives away a spoiler. Taki75 writes, John, I want an Ebony Maw / Black Order movie now. Oh my gosh. Like, it is so weird to say, but like Ebony Maw, I remember somebody mentioned, and I've talked about this a couple of times, but it bears repeating. Somebody mentioned, like, oh my gosh, Ebony Maw, who is just a henchman of the real bad guy in the movie, is like top 5 MCU villains of all time. And I'm like, yep. Yes, he is. Oh my God, yes, he is. And he's such a great character. I would love to watch a movie. I mean, they'll never do it. But what I really want is an Ebony Maw and Black Order Hot Toys. I mean, that's what I want. I think that Ebony Maw hot toy would just look outstanding. Let's see. Everett Bichara, who writes, hey, John, no question. Just wanted to say keep up the good work. I Uber drive on the side and you help sparks conversation with the passengers. Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. You know, I think you're the first person to ever come on that mentions you're an Uber driver. You make living in Los Angeles possible. I could not live here, man, if I didn't have Uber. Because I actually hate driving. I don't like driving. I don't mind driving, but I mean, if I have to go somewhere downtown or go into Hollywood, I would much rather just call an Uber. Just makes life so much simpler. So thank you, Everett, for what you do. And thank you for sharing my show with your passengers. That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that, man. Let's see. Murray for Us writes, whenever I listen to any John Williams score, especially the adventure feel movie themes, I get goosebumps. From Indy, Superman, Jurassic Park, E.T., Jaws, and of course Star Wars, the guy's a living genius. You know, it's funny because, like, even I, who I'm a big John Williams fan, every year John Williams does a concert at the Hollywood Bowl. And he does it every year. And I go every year. Ann and I have gone for like 5 years in a row now. And we just got our tickets for the next one, which I think is in September. So we just secured our tickets for that. And sometimes he starts playing things and I go, oh, damn, I totally forgot that was John Williams. Like almost every single major, instantly recognizable Hollywood score, most of them come from John Williams. And like that list you got right there, some of the greatest movie themes of all time you've just listed, right? You're talking about Indiana Jones, bum ba bum ba bum ba ba. I mean, everybody knows that. You got Superman, bum 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 bum. Everybody knows that. You got Jurassic Park, ba 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 ba. You got E.T. You got Jaws. You got the Star Wars and everything involved, all the music with Star Wars. Don't forget Harry Potter. Bum bum ba bum 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 bum. I mean, it's so his music is so recognizable and iconic. There is no other conductor when it comes to film scoring that you could just hear a few bars of one of their pieces to a movie and you could recognize them just like that on the scale that John Williams is. There's just the level of the man's genius. You just can't put it into words. It's crazy. And I love going to his concerts because not only is he great at composing music, he's a great storyteller. So one of the best things about his concerts every year that he does at the Hollywood Bowl is he's got his orchestra there, but in between pieces, he'll stop and turn around and, this next piece I'm doing, it reminds me back in 1964, I was taking a meeting with and he just tells these stories and you're like just sitting there soaking in these rich Hollywood stories being told by one of the masters. So not only is he terrific at composing this music and playing it for audiences and all that kind of stuff, he's a great storyteller. Seriously, guys, if you ever get the chance, and I don't know if he does annual shows outside of LA or whatever, maybe he does them all over the world, I don't know. But if you ever get a chance to go and watch a show being conducted by John Williams, like John Williams with whatever orchestra, go. Not just for the amazing music, but the amazing stories that he tells. It's really kind of cool. And actually, one of my favorites that he tells was when he was talking to Kathleen Kennedy about Star Wars The Last Jedi. And they were talking about him coming back to conduct and score Last Jedi. And the reason he said yes, because the dude is like approaching 90. I mean, he's got to be retiring soon. But the reason he said yes, he tells a story, and he tells a very long version of it, but basically he tells a story about he is enamored with the Rey character. The Rey character is his all-time favorite Star Wars character. And he says he's just smitten with the character. And he goes, I came back to do Last Jedi because I didn't want anybody else composing music for Rey. And he tells it in like a 10-minute story. But it's just him going into it and talking about it's just, and then him talking about old Hollywood. Oh, it's just so good. If you guys ever get a chance, go check out John Williams. Sorry, I went on longer than that, but I love talking about John Williams. Anyway, Soggy Mini Muffins. What a great name. Soggy Mini Muffins writes, Thanos is now a playable character in Fortnite. Thoughts? Oh my God, I didn't know that. I'll be honest, I haven't touched Fortnite in a couple of weeks. It's a fun game. I just got frustrated with how much I suck. Oh, and I suck. I'm bad. I got really mad because a friend of mine was just started playing Fortnite, and he started, he shared that on Twitter that he just started playing Fortnite. And I got all pissed off because like 2 days after playing, he puts out the screenshot, hey, I won my first game of Fortnite. And I'm like, fuck you. Like, I was just so mad because I played it a couple of dozen times. I think the best I ever did was 6th. I usually finish in the top 50, so I do okay, but I suck. I'm so bad. And I just got so mad that I saw him do that. Yeah, I was really pissed. Anyway, next one comes to us from Dakota Barber, who writes, favorite Parks and Rec episode? Oh my gosh. I would have to sit down and think about it. The one I will say off the top of my head is the Andy and April wedding. That's the one I'll say off the top of my head. Ann and I quote each other all the time, or quote that one episode all the time. It's like, here's your invitation. Please bring 20 cooked steaks. Please bring 3D version of Avatar. Also, please bring 3D capable TV. I mean, it's a great episode, but again, don't hold me to that because there may be other episodes, but that's the one that jumps off the top of my head. All right, we go on now to, where's Bobby? There's Bobby. We go on now to Bobby, and Bobby M writes, I created a spreadsheet of the MCU by release date showing critical responses, Rotten Tomato percentages, and box office. Would you be interested in me emailing it to you? Might be a useful box office tool. Sure, man. Yeah, by all means. I mean, I love data. I love stats. That's the sports fan in me. I love stats. I'm obsessed with stats. And I'm obsessed with stats when they come to movies as well. And again, that probably comes from my passion and love of sports. But yeah, I'd be very interested in that. Please, yeah, email it to me. And if any of you guys have anything to email to me, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Just email me that stuff there. I'd be really fascinated to take a look at it. All right. Michael Jones writes, Hey, John, since Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, if they want to put Spider-Man, Tom Holland, in Venom, do they need Marvel's permission? No, they do not. However, I'm sure, generally speaking, no, they don't. They can do whatever they want with Spider-Man. The thing, though, is the asterisk right now is that they have a sub deal going on right now that allows Spider-Man to be in the MCU. That deal expires after the next standalone Spider-Man movie. So Homecoming 2, as of right now, is the final film of that deal. Now, they could very easily extend that deal and sign a new deal. Yeah. All that could happen. I'm just saying, as of right now, the current deal between Marvel and Sony, allowing Spider-Man to be in the MCU, that expires after Spider-Man Homecoming 2. Now, it's probably implied in that deal that while they've got Spider-Man in the MCU, that Marvel will produce the Spider-Man movies and the Spider-Man character. Sony still distributes it. Sony still has creative input and probably veto power on a lot of anything Spider-Man does in those movies. But it's probably, I'm guessing, contained within that deal that Sony won't use Spider-Man while that deal is still in place. I'm speculating on that, but that's what, as a lawyer, that's what I would have written into that, right? So I don't think they can right now. They absolutely can soon. Soon they'll have just their regular full rights back to do whatever they want. But as of right now, probably can't do that. And it's not something that Marvel would probably bend on anyway right now. But once that second deal is done, or once that second film's out of the way, they can do whatever they want. Unless, of course, they sign a new deal, which is highly probable. I think it's what they should do. I think this partnership between Marvel and Sony has been very good for Sony, and I think it's been very good for Marvel. So I hope they find a way to continue that. All right. Moving on. Ninjatrocity TV writes, is it possible for Deadpool to make a cameo in Avengers 4? Nope, can't happen. I mean, look. Deadpool is not in the MCU. He's not. And a lot of people have to constantly remember that the deal between Fox and Disney is not done. It's not a done deal. It has not been a ratified or executed deal. And it won't be probably for another year. So while, I mean, you could see a toy figure, but seeing Ryan Reynolds pop up in it, highly, highly, highly unlikely. I'm not going to say impossible because Darth Vader could cameo in Avengers 4. Highly, highly, highly unlikely, but it is possible. So I'd put the Deadpool cameoing in MCU on that same level. Equally as unlikely as Darth Vader popping up in it. But I won't say 100% impossible because crazier things have happened. But no, I mean, generally speaking, remember, Deadpool is not in the MCU as of right now. And won't be by the time Avengers 4 comes out either. So I wouldn't count on that. Okay, let's move on here. Chris Martin writes, saw Aladdin yesterday. Oh my God, John, Genie was a standout. So awesome. Jafar and Aladdin were great too. The effects were top notch. Pure Disney magic. Talking about the, Chris wrote in the other day that he was going to go see the live action stage adaptation of Aladdin. Ann and I went to go see it a couple of months ago. Loved it. And the way they did the magic carpet was great. And for those of you thinking, wait, how'd they do magic carpet on a live action stage? They do it, and they do it in a really cool way. And you're right, the guy who did the genie, oh my word. He was so great. Every moment he was on stage, whether it was one of his main scenes or somebody else's main scene, and he was just there, was just incredible. I loved it. I love going to live shows. You know, Anne buys annual passes to each season at Pantages. And like she bought a pass for this season, and we just went to go see Stomp, which was great. And then I think Fiddler on the Roof is there this year. And there's a few other really top-notch musicals playing there this year. So I'm really starting to get into going to see live stage theater again. And Aladdin was one of the more pleasant ones. It really was. So I'm glad you saw it, and I'm glad you had a good time. All right. Elvin Rivera writes, A Quiet Place is my favorite movie of the year so far. But I think a sequel is a mistake. The movie is a one and done. Thoughts? Well, look, who knows? Who knows what they have in store and what they have in mind? Look, I had this conversation with somebody else before. I guarantee you, when somebody suggested doing a Godfather 2, the thing is, why? Why would you do Godfather 2? That's a mistake. Godfather is a perfect movie. It ends perfectly with the ring and the closing of the door. It's a perfect ending. You're just going to ruin Godfather. I'm sure that was a talk of the internet wasn't around at the time, but I'm sure, and I wasn't around at the time, but I'm sure that was a big part of the discussions going around when they were talking about doing Godfather Part 2. And what was the result? Some people would argue the greatest motion picture of all time in Godfather Part 2. Some people think Godfather 1 is the greatest motion picture of all time. Some people think something else is. But whatever the case is, it is absolutely universally accepted that Godfather Part 2 is one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. So, I mean, look, yeah, we look at A Quiet Place and we think, well, how do you do? There are actually several things you can do that could be very similar to the first Quiet Place or could be very different. So, yeah, I mean, until I hear what the idea is, it's far too soon to say it's a mistake to do a sequel. Well, you don't even know what they're going to do on the sequel yet. Let's hear their idea. They might come up with a fabulous idea. They might come up with a crappy idea. Either way, it's not really a mistake to do another one. Because what's the harm? What's the harm in trying? So I think it's far too soon to say it's a mistake when we don't even know what they would do yet. I think there are several options. I'm not going to go into those options just in case there are a number of you who haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm not going to give anything away. But I think there are several options available to them that would be some kind of creative ideas of where they could go with a story like this. So let's pump the brakes for a second. Let's see how it turns out. Let's see what their idea is first before we start writing it off as a bad idea. That's just my thought right now. Let's see. Sarat Chandra writes, do you have a sword collection like Narsil and Longclaw, etc.? If not, would you like to start one? Nah. I used to, but I mean, where would I don't have anywhere to put stuff like that, so no. But I'll tell you what though, whenever I go to these conventions or things like that, inevitably there's always one or two, what do you call them, booths at these conventions where there are sword makers. And I cannot walk by them. I have to stop and gawk at them and look at them and appreciate them. And on one hand, I think, oh man, I would love that on my wall. But really, I have nowhere to put stuff like that. So I probably wouldn't be starting one. But whenever I'm at these conventions, I always have to stop and just appreciate the workmanship, just how they look and everything. Let's see. Let's Watch writes, just wanted to send this to you. You're a great person. Thank you for all the great content. Oh, thank you so much, Let's Watch. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's always nice when people say, oh, by the way, I like what you do. That's great because, you know, there are always people on Twitter who, when you do stuff like what I do, who are more than willing to take a moment to say, hey, by the way, I hate what you do. There's always more than enough people willing to do that. So I always appreciate when somebody like you, Let's Watch, throws in a comment like that. I appreciate that. All right, just a couple more questions, guys. Devontae Brown writes, sorry, forgot no spoilers here. When can you talk about them? Okay, so, Devontae, first of all, I got it, guys, everybody. On the John Campea show, you know that the main part of the show is when I take email questions from the audience, right? Guys, I kid you not, I read through about 200 emails yesterday. And without hyperbole, without exaggeration, about 180 of them, maybe 185 of them, involve spoiler questions about Avengers Infinity War. Guys, the movie's only been out for a little over a week. The movie's just been out for like a week and a half. Please, guys, send me email questions, but do not send me email questions that I cannot use on the show. So there's like, John, concerning this character and what he did in Infinity War, it's like, I can't use this question. Like, there are still many people who have not seen, it's only been out a week and a half. Look, so you're not alone, Devontae, so don't feel bad. You are clearly not alone. Everybody just forgets about that. Oh yeah, there's still a lot of people and the movie's only been out for a week. It feels like it's been out forever, right? But, so don't feel bad about that. But just as a moment to encourage you guys, send me emails about things other than Infinity War. Because anything Infinity War related that is asking a question that only somebody who has seen the movie would even understand the question, then I can't use it. Look, I mentioned this a few times. Here is my idea about how and when you can discuss spoilers. I've said this before. I believe once a film has finished its theatrical run and it has come out on home video and has been out on home video for at least a month or two, at that point, anybody who really wants to see or who is really interested in that movie has had every opportunity in the world. It did its theatrical run, it's out on home video, and has been out on home video for at least a month or two. At that point, there's no more excuses. If you haven't seen a movie by that point, then you are clearly not all that interested in that movie. All right? At that point, I will talk openly about spoilers. With some exceptions, obviously, with some exceptions. So we are a long way away from being able to talk spoilers on anything other than a spoiler-specific video, like the John Campea show. So we're still probably a little ways away from that. Look, I know most of us watching the show have seen Avengers Infinity War. I know that. However, just out of respect for those people who haven't had a chance to see it yet, let's not spoil it. You know, there's great stuff in that movie that is best experienced as a surprise. So let's at least try not to spoil it for a while longer. That's all I'm saying. But again, Devontae, don't feel bad about it because everybody forgets about it. It's like I said, like 185 out of the 200 emails I got yesterday were about Avengers Infinity War, specifically that included spoiler material. It's like, I can't use this question. I can't use it. We got to protect people. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Devontae, and appreciate it. All right, Scott, where'd Scott go? Scott Macaulay writes, "Hey John, greetings from Ireland. Just wanted to say thanks for all the content. Gets me through the workday. Hope my boss doesn't watch." Because as of now that I've read that question, you're going to hear a yelling voice from down the hall. Scott! By the way, Ireland, home of my all-time favorite band, U2, of course. All right, just a couple more here, then we're going to wrap it up today. All right, this next one comes to us from Razor's Edge Frisbee, who writes, "Hey John, Darkseid is my favorite villain in any media. After seeing how rushed the VFX for Steppenwolf were, I'm super happy they didn't use him." Oh yeah, look, I get into this debate and discussion with friends of mine all the time about many different movies, but it has particularly been an issue with Justice League. The answer to a movie is not just throw more stuff in. And, you know, there are some people, Justice League would have been so much better if they showed that Darkseid scene. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's not always a good thing. Just throw more stuff in is not the answer. I am very curious to see a proper Darkseid character in a DCEU movie. I would really like them to reboot the universe and start with the hinting that the big threat that is coming is Darkseid. Granted, that's a little similar to what they've done with the MCU with Thanos. Sure, fine. But I still think you have such a great character that he should be an omnipresent character in your cinematic universe. And I'm really glad the first introduction of him wasn't in your fifth film as a little tag thing at the end. If you're going to do a little tag thing with him, introduce him in the first film of your universe. and start to plant a sense of continuity to your films, then you can do that. But anyway, Darkseid is a character that we need to see on the big screen. I just think we need them to reset their cinematic universe and then properly pave the way for him, because he could be an outstanding on-screen villain if they handle it right. So I'm with you on that. Okay, RR101 writes, any news regarding Mask or He-Man? Well, there was just an announcement the other day that I think, was it F. Gary Gray? That F. Gary Gray and Hasbro are looking at doing a Mask movie. Mask. Doing a movie for Mask. I don't know why. It's a bad idea. It's a show that only lasted 2 seasons. Oops, and I forgot to reset my camera. Sorry, guys. It's a show that only lasted for 2 seasons anyway. And quite frankly, was never all that good, nor was it ever really all that popular. Like, I remember, we recognized the name Mask, but it was never all that good, and quite frankly, never all that popular. So I don't know why. With He-Man, nope, no more updates. I mean, I remember it was a couple years ago that, hey, you know, the studio's working on it. They put out some concept art of He-Man, and, you know, everything, I mean, it looked good, and then nothing happens. Then we hear a little bit more, and nothing happens. And we hear a little bit more, and nothing happens. So I've heard nothing. I don't think the movie's happening. At least not the one that's supposed to come out in like a year. I don't think it's happening. But, I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened. Maybe they're just playing stuff really close to the vest. But as of right now, I don't know anything new or anything different. All right. RR number 1 follows it up with, I don't just like what you do, I love it. Well, thank you so much, RR. I really appreciate that. Thanks, man. And we're going to end off today's show with Let's Watch. And Let's Watch writes, last one, because I'm poor, but what is your favorite comic book artist? Mine is Ethan Van Sciver. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Look, I've read a lot of comic books, but I am not one of those guys that when reading, I mean, other than more modern stuff like Brian K. Vaughan, but when reading stuff, I don't normally take a close look at who the artist is or who the writer is. I just read the title, and read the comics. So I'm really not in a position. I could throw out a couple of names of like comic book artists that everybody have heard of, but that would be a little bit disingenuous of me to do, because really, I just read I was just a comic book reader. I wasn't into the industry. I wasn't like hyper obsessed with who's the writer of this one and who's the artist on this one. I was just into the story, you know what I mean? So probably not even a question I can really legitimately answer. All right, guys, that will do it for today's episode of Open Mic. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Don't forget, guys, in a little bit, I've got my review of God of War coming up, and that's about the story of the movie, not the gameplay of the movie, but the story of the movie. Of the game, I should say. An 8-hour video session I sat through to watch that thing. We've also got the main show on my network here is the John Campea Show. That comes up at 2 o'clock a little bit later today. Keep your eyes open for that. Hey, listen, guys, do me a favor. While you're here, if you are somebody who appreciates the shows that we do here, do me a favor, go over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. While you're there, you'll get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter of mine, how being a Patreon supporter keeps the show on the air, and what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter, like audio-only podcasts, Facebook groups, and behind-the-scenes videos, things like that. Then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too, and if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just glad you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.